Okay, the next phase of tuning, this is really easy. And it's funny, I hear kids on the ski team said, "Did you tune your skis?" Yeah, I waxed them. Well, the waxing isn't tuning your skis. That's the quickest, easiest part of a nothing thing. But it's nice to have wax on your skis so you can be fast. So what I do before I tune my ski, I take the iron and heat up the base. So whether it's true or not, you know, they say it creates better adhesion.
So you're just preheating the base of the ski?
Preheating the base of the ski, especially if we're in your garage where it's not that hot. So just, I don't know if that's really a truism or not. There's so many things to ski tuning that you've been taught and whatever. And, you know, the cool thing is I've been fortunate enough to have been taught by some really good tuners that have tuned, you know, US ski team tuners and all that stuff. And every time, you know, I always think I know everything about tuning, but you go listen to someone else and they have a little something that they do that I don't do. And I bet there's not many people that use this sanding disc to tune there, to cut the sidewall. I taught a guy who's a really good tuner, I showed him I did that, and he's like, wow, what a great idea. You know, I was like, how did you come up with that? Because I'm a painter, you know.
And you had those sanding discs?
And I had those sanding discs available. I'm like, what can I do to smooth out this sidewall? And that's a great device. Anyway, so what I do, there's a bunch of different ways. A lot of people, in the old days, used to just drip it all on and run it down, which you can do a little bit of that. Drip it on down. So that's one way. So a guy that I know that was a big time tuner, he would go like this, put it on his iron, on a short spot, so he wouldn't waste the wax. What we don't want to do, we don't really want to make a mess out of Tim's house. So that's not such a bad way to do it.
I've already made a mess doing waxing.
I know, I saw that. So what I do is I go in short increments here, right? Keep heating it up. So the objective is to get the wax into the base, right? I know these guys have like hot boxes and they have their ways of waxing that is so, they think it's so good. And I asked some of my buddies that are big tuners and big racers, like, I don't really do that. And these guys are fast as hell. So I don't know. The jury's out on that one. Maybe it probably is if you're at that high a level, but I certainly am not. So we keep going like that. Try not to waste the wax. So the thing about wax is all kinds of different waxes. So what my favorite one to use for racing is the low fluoro pink, right? It's pretty good from like 20 to 30, which is pretty much all we ever see. And the low fluoro allows for a little bit of, so the snow's a little bit wet, which it kind of is here sometimes in the Northeast. But what you don't want is high fluoro. I did that one time, put high fluoro on, thinking it was this real expensive, great wax. Well, it was the worst time I ever had. I did terrible, it was awful. And I thought it would be good, but the high fluoro waxes are only good for high moisture content. So if you just have a day where maybe if it rained a lot, or if you had a bunch of snow.
You mean like this coming weekend?
Yes, the high fluoro would be great. Some of my buddies even use soap on the bottom of the skis when it gets that much. And apparently that's pretty good for one run.
So I see some people talking about tuning, and they put wax on, and they scrape it off, and they brush, and all these different techniques. So what can you tell us about those techniques versus your nice straightforward approach?
So here's what I do. I just put a thin layer on, as you saw. I'm not a big fan of this. There's no reason to have any excess wax dripping off the edge of the ski. So I put a very thin layer on. I keep, as you see, I keep rubbing it in now. Now as it's all hot on the whole ski, it's all liquid on the whole ski. I keep going up and down. Now, if you're not racing, I really see no reason to scrape that, right? Unless it's cold weather. So if it's cold weather, which is a really, it's like a purple or blue wax, and those things are hard as a rock, you absolutely have to scrape them, right? But if it's those cold days, I think the purple wax is such a pain in the ass to work with. I wouldn't even do it. I would put an all temperature wax, right? Or a colder version of this, which is, I forgot what the next one down from pink is, but the next one up that we use a lot is yellow. So when you're doing a wax, you don't have to do all the same wax, right? So I'll put, a lot of times if it's gonna be a little bit warmer, I would take some yellow wax, same thing, low fluoro, and put that right on top of this and mix the two of them together. mix it in and heat them up pretty good. So it's one nice little thing. And I have a scraper, and I really don't think, there's no real need for me to do this with Tim. However, if I was to, I don't think I have a brush, but if I'm racing,
Yeah,
what
I
I do,
in my kit if you need.
no, we don't need it. So what I would do, and for a recreational skier, there's no need to actually brush a ski out. Maybe you scrape it a little bit, but I don't even do that. With the pink, pink is pretty soft. It will ski off after a few runs. It'll actually last longer if you don't scrape it. Maybe on your way to your first run, on the way to the lift, you're a little bit slow, but literally after like one run, it's good enough, and it'll give you enough for base protection. But you should wax your skis. You know, I do it every time because you don't want your base to burn out. You know, if it's a powder day or soft snow, not the granular snow, like when it's warmer out, that'll chew your wax up. Your wax doesn't really go away. So you have to look at the bottom of your ski. If you see any marks where you can see where it's a little bit dry, then you absolutely have to re-wax your skis. But obviously, waxing is the last thing you do. You tune anything first. So if I'm going to do that, what I would probably do, now that Tim's ski is done, if he skied one time and said, "Could you retune my ski?" I said, "Sure." So all I would do is take the diamond stone to the bottom, flip it, take the diamond stone to the side, and put a quick, light bit of wax. You know, my racing skis that I had, I hardly used them at our tryouts, and I put them back on the thing, diamond stone, and I just took the wax, the iron, and went right over what was the wax that was left on the ski, and it was fine. I didn't have to put any more wax on it. So you really don't want to cake it up, right? I put a real thin layer on. I'm a big fan of thin layer and rub it in and heat it in a whole bunch. So his skis are all ready to rock.
So that ski is ready to make the
so
trip
now,
to Switzerland.
That's right. So that's right, maiden voyage. So, but if I was racing on these suckers, I would scrape them when they dried. You know, probably another hour or something, and then take a brush. They make these wire brushes that are made for it, and you take it and you run it all the way down, top tip to tail. That's not one you're scraping. Doesn't really matter what you do. I try and go tip to tail scraping, but if you don't, it's not the end of the world. But when you brush, if you're racing, you go all the way top to bottom. Because that what it does, it creates little grooves, makes the ski a little bit faster.
So I've noticed too is that after putting wax on, the ski stays hot for a long
Oh,
time.
a long time. So what else happens, it's funny you say that, it stays hot for a long time, and now it changes shape. So now it's convex, right? It comes like this, right? And when it cools down, it'll go back to its more natural shape. But you're heating the base up. So the base heats up a lot more than the top that's metal. So you have two different components in here. One's heating up faster, much faster than the other. And that being said, the iron that I use is a ski racing iron, right? This only goes to like, I don't know what it is, 140 degrees. So one of the things I forgot to mention is when you're using the iron, this won't over smoke, right? Because it's adjusted to the right temperature. I used to use like a freaking iron that was a mother's clothes iron, which you can do, but the thing is, when you're adjusting the temperature, you have to make sure that if it starts smoking, then it's too hot. So you have to turn the volume down on your mother's clothes iron, but you can use that, right? It does work, but you can screw up a base really bad. You can ruin a pair of skis if you heat the base too hot with your mother's clothes iron. Not with these irons that are all regular. It's still smoking a little bit, as you can see. At different temperature waxes will smoke a little more. The yellow, which is a warmer weather wax, will smoke more than the colder weather waxes will. So, but that being said, as long as you're cautious about it and are always moving the iron, even if it's a little bit too hot, if you're moving it all the time, and never ever put an iron in one spot, right? Mm-hmm. And your final swipe, I always go tip to tail when I'm waxing. Does it really matter? Probably not. You know. So anyway, all right.